This is Lyle Fass with the Organic Wine Journal, and this is Real Wines for Hard Times. And today we are focusing on one of my favorite grapes, Grüner Veltliner from Austria. Grüner Veltliner is the indigenous grape of Austria, in that it's from Austria, and it's used in most of the wines. That and Riesling are the two big grapes in Austria, along with some other indigenous varietals that are interesting but don't have the presence that Grüner Veltliner has. I think it's planted in 60–70% of all the vineyards in Austria, Grüner Veltliner, and it's planted all over Austria, it's not just a specialty of one or two regions. There is a little bit in Germany, in the Rhine-Hessen, there's a little bit in Washington State, a little bit in Oregon, but in general, if you want Grüner, you go to Austria. And it is kind of one of the favorites of sommeliers all over the country. New York, San Francisco, Chicago, you always find a Grüner on a list. It goes incredible with all types of food, especially vegetables, especially asparagus, and especially artichoke, which are notable wine killers. You cannot match anything of those. But Grüner is definitely your answer. Today we have two Austrian wines made from Grüner Veltliner, and what's interesting about them is what I saw is that they both have two unique kind of enclosures. This is a Stelb enclosure right here, as you can see, and what a Stelb enclosure is a screw cap. It's very, very easy to open, and it means usually if you see it's a clue that the wine should not be aged, it should be drunk young, because wines with cork are more traditionally aged. And then we have another one. This is a crown cap. And what a crown cap is something, I mean, beer drinkers will be more familiar with a crown cap than wine drinkers, actually. And that crown cap is exactly as you see. It's it's something that you can do with beer, and it should be kind of on a bottle of beer, Guinness or Michelob. I don't know beer, so don't let me, massacre beer brands. But they're both interesting, and they're both for wines that are meant to be drunk young. That's the most important thing. And you're saving the forest, you're saving the rainforest, the Portuguese forest, whatever you're saving something. So that's always a good thing. And they're very, very easy to open. I'm going to open this one first because it brings me back to my college days, and that I can get a trusty lighter right here. The wine lighter, as you can see. I don't know how they knew I was into wine when they sold it to me. And you pretty much get a grip right here with your forefinger right here and your thumb right here, and then you make a little kind of like wedge right here. And then you go up, and if you get the sound, that means you're really cool, but I don't know if I'll get the sound. And then you just go up, with a little pressure, and then, boom, it's open. Wonderful. Easy and a lot more interesting than messing around with a corkscrew and trying to figure it out and shredding the cork and doing all these horrible things with a corkscrew. And then we have the Stelben closure, which is really easy to open. It's so funny that something called a closure, yet it's the most easy thing to open. You just go like this. Simple. Although, I must warn you, you can cut yourself on these, and because they do have these sharp things right here, so when you're finished with it, definitely put it away. I've cut myself on many, many Stelben closures. I've also seen people stick corkscrews actually into Stelben closures, which actually I think is very funny, but it can actually cause some serious bodily damage right there. And another thing about Stelben closures, just like opening a jar of pickles or anything like that, sometimes it gets stuck. And when it gets stuck, you just gotta kind of put more pressure and do it, but don't do it too hard because you will slice your hand. I have done it before, and I have the scars to prove it. But let's start with the first wine. This is from a winery called, I have to read this, BioCult, which I think is absolutely hilarious. Who is their, I don't know who their consulting enologist is, maybe Aleister Crowley or who knows, or Michel Rolland, but it's got two very funny things in the thing that is trying to be biodynamic or organic, and it's trying to be cult. So they're just going to call it BioCult. I would love to meet the marketers behind it. And then the label is very interesting. It's got leaves of grass on it. I really don't know what that's going to be significant. I would much rather see vines on it. But if they have grass on it, they're trying to figure something out. I have no idea who they're going for. But let's taste it. I've never heard of this wine. I've never heard of this winery. I don't know how much it is. Can't even, it's an '08 vintage, so it definitely is really, really young. So let's check it out. Alright. It actually smells good. Doesn't smell culty, doesn't smell biological. So far, so good. White pepper, mineral, pretty simple aromas to it, kind of smells like a, I don't want to say this in a negative way, like when you open a fresh bar of soap, it smells like that. And I like that smell. I don't know if you will, but I do. A little bit of white pepper, not much. But good, simple, mineral nose. I would not be annoyed if someone served this to me. What I know about the '08 vintage is witnessed in that sip right there, high acid. This is very, very high acid wine. There's really not much fruit. There's a little bit of mineral, but there is kind of like a nice peppery echo on the palate. But otherwise, it's extremely simple and extremely juicy, which I do like. But it's good, it's not great, it's simple, it's not complex, it's okay. This is the type of wine, if they had it in some restaurant in an area where I wasn't familiar with, I'd order it, but I wouldn't go out of my way to find this. Now let's move on to this wine right here. This is Weingut-Hofer, Grüner Veltliner, from the same region actually, Niederösterreich, and this is a liter of wine here. You're probably wondering why the shape of the bottle is so strange. This is a liter right here, which means it is 250 milliliters bigger than a 750 milliliter bottle. So you get a lot of wine for the money here. Let's pour it out. A little bit of a lighter color than I'd say the other wine right there. And I know Hofer, I just want to say that like this is one of the best values in wine consistently every year. They're organic, they're a biodynamic winery, and I mean this wine, the Crown Cap Hofer Grüner Veltliner liter, is like a sensation in the New York scene. It's at every restaurant, it's in every store. The prices go from maybe 12 to 16 bucks a bottle, whatever it is, but it's always an astonishing value, and I just love it for its razor sharp acidity, wonderful purity. But let's see what this version is, the '08 again. See, you can already tell this wine is so much more interesting than the Biocold wine, because there's so much more complexity on the nose, there's little bits of mineral, there's more subtlety. This was not subtle, this had just 3 or 4 different flavors, and they were just like boom, 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 boom. This is subtle, there's probably, you know, 5 or 6 different aromas here. There's complexity, there's interest here, and there's definitely kind of a soil-inflected mineral tone, which I really, really like. That nose thing, that's just because that smells horrible, my spit bucket, but this wine is beautiful. It's crisp, it's minerally, there's interesting flavors of almost tropical fruit to it. It's got great acidity to it, lovely minerality, and it's juicy. I'm salivating from the first sip. It's an astonishing value, and it's so easy to drink. This is something that I could drink almost like a non-alcoholic beverage. I could slam this. I could slam this like a nice cold apple juice or a can of Coke or whatever. I mean, this is very slammable wine, which is important. You know, every wine we don't want to sit there and appreciate and be like, oh, this is wonderful, and sit there scrubbing notes. Sometimes you just need a bottle to slam. I cannot think of a more slammable bottle than a liter. You know, I mean, if you really wanted to, you could go ghetto and you could just drink it right out of the bottle. I mean, it does a Crown Cap, you know. I don't recommend that, but especially if you're on a date or anything. But hey, if you're sitting at home and you're watching the Super Bowl or whatever, drink that like you would drink a beer. Oh, it's lovely. It's improving so much. I mean, I would be so happy to drink this. Look how happy it's made me. I mean, look how bitter I was after drinking the Biocold wine. Just lovely. Really, really, really lovely. And that's Grüner Veltliner right there.